Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Brilliant as the Sun, a retelling of Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 4, Chapter 18, Prithu milks the earth. Different persons extract from Bhumi varieties of produce. Verse 1. Prithu's lips trembled in anger. These were just empty words. If Bhumi were truly contrite, she would provide grains. He raised his sword and Bhumi shook with fear. Verse 2. My lord, please give up your anger and hear my words. Even though I am wretched, kindly hear me. If you hear something of value, please accept it, just as a bee takes only the nectar from a flower. Prithu lowered his arm. What have you to say? Verses 3 to 5. Bhumi said, great sages have established methods by which people can achieve prosperity in this life and the next. Anyone who follows their recommendations will enjoy all life's necessities. If one foolishly ignores their authority and concocts his own path, he will fail in all endeavors. Prithu's expression remained stern. Verses 6 to 7. Bhumi's eyes welled with tears. My dear king, you should know that my produce, seeds, roots, herbs and grains, was exploited without restraint for many years by atheistic men devoid of spiritual knowledge and sense control. I therefore hid the seeds deep within me, and they have now deteriorated. If you permit, I will now explain how you can extract from me good seeds. Prithu slowly sheathed his sword. Tell me what I should do. Verses 9 and 10. Bhumi sighed, her body relaxing. Great hero, if you wish to supply all necessities to the living entities, you should milk me. Bring a suitable calf, a milkman, and a pot for the milk. Since I will be affectionate to my calf, your desires will be fulfilled. Prithu smiled. I shall do as you ask. Is there anything else I need to know? Verse 11. Bhumi said, my dear king, you will need to level the earth's surface. This will help me to provide produce even when the rainy season has ceased. The rain which comes by Indra's mercy will remain on the earth's surface, keeping the soil moist and suitable for crops. Maitreya noticed Vidur perspiring under the warm sun. He suggested they move to a more shaded area. When the two men were again settled, Vidur said, what did King Prithu do on hearing Bhumi's suggestion? Verses 12 to 14, Maitreya said, Prithu found her proposal pleasing and for everyone's good. He transformed Swambhuva Manu into a calf and milked from the cow-shaped earth all types of herbs and grains, which he caught in his cupped hands. Others also took the opportunity to milk from her whatever they wanted. They used as their calves those persons able to specifically elicit from the earth the particular item required. The sages made Bhrigu into a calf and milked Vedic knowledge from the earth using their minds, hearing and speech as receptacles. Verses 15 to 19. After this, the god asked Indra to become a calf in order to milk the celestial Soma beverage, which increases bodies and mental and mind's power. The demons extracted liquor and beer by asking Prahlad to become a calf. The Gandharvas drew out the musical arts and beauty with the help of Vishwavasu as their calf. Then the Pitris who preside over the funerals milked out Kavya, a food offered to ancestors, while the Siddhas with Lord Kapila acting as the calf milked yogic mystic powers from Bhumi. Verses 20 to 27. As the beaming king looked on, the Kim Purusha celestials drew from the earth the mystic power known as Antardhan, by which one can disappear and reappear in any form he likes. Then the Yakshas, Rakshasas and ghosts who are fond of eating flesh used Rudra as a calf to extract beverages of blood, which they kept in cups made of skulls. Snakes, scorpions, and other venomous creatures used Takshak as a calf to draw their poisons, which they kept in snake holes. Using Shiva's bull carrier Nandis as their calf and the forest as the milking pot, four-legged animals like cows extracted fresh green grass as their food. Fierce animals like tigers transformed a lion into a calf and drew out flesh foods. The birds used Garuda as their calf to milk out insects and plants as their edibles. Trees made a banyan tree into a calf and derived milk in the form of many tasteful juices, while the mountains used the Himalayas as a calf to extract minerals, which they kept on their peaks. According to Prithu's desire, the earth supplied every type of being with their respective food. They each made the head of their species into a calf and milked out their edibles. Verses 28 to 29. Prithu smiled in satisfaction. His anger dissipated and he felt fatherly affection toward Bhumi as if she were his own daughter. When the milking was complete, he again mounted his chariot and went out to level the earth's surface. He released arrows charged with the power of mantras that smashed numerous hills and mountains to dust, creating expanses of flat ground for farming. Verse 30. Returning to his palace, Prithu sat upon his great throne, flanked by his ministers. He gave audience to the people, and the heads of the different social orders came to see him. The king gave them appropriate employment so that everyone in the kingdom was fully engaged in their respective duty. Prithu ensured that they were all properly remunerated and had adequate accommodations. To the citizens, he seemed exactly like a loving father. Verses 31 and 32. Seeing that the people had been living in a haphazard fashion, constructing dwellings here and there in small groups, Prithu developed towns and cities. He also organized farming so that the pasturing grounds and fields for growing crops were properly laid out. Forts and barracks were built and jewels mines excavated. Under Prithu's guidance, the earth became beautiful and the citizens were content. One day the sage Narad visited Prithu. The king was curious to know about the destination his father Vena had attained. Narad said, "Your father has taken birth among the meat-eating outcasts known as Mlechas. Afflicted with terrible sinful reactions, he is now suffering from leprosy and tuberculosis." Prithu was shocked. "How can I help him?" "You must take him to Kurukshetra and have him bathed in the sacred Sannihita Sarovar where the Saraswati flows." Prithu immediately made arrangements. Accompanied by the sage, he went to the Malecha community and found Vena living in a broken-down hovel. He lay on the bare ground, deep rasping coughs racking his blackened and emaciated body. He looked up at Prithu, his rheumy eyes opening wide as he realized that this was the king. "I am your son, born from your dead body in your past life," said Prithu. "Get upon this palanquin and I shall free you from this misery." Prithu had Vena brought to Kurukshetra. When they arrived at Sthanu Tirth, where the lake known as Sannihita Sarovar was found, he told him to enter the waters. Vena slowly made his way to the water's edge, but suddenly a booming voice was heard. "Stop! Know me to be Vayu, Lord of the Winds. This one should not enter the lake, for his sins are too great and will pollute the river." Prithu looked around. No one was visible. He saw that Vena was being held back from bathing by a fierce wind. Plainly Vayu was responsible. The king called out, "O worshipful one, how shall my father be saved?" Vayu said, "First take him on pilgrimage to all the sacred places. This will purify him sufficiently. Then he can bathe there." Prithu personally accompanied his father on pilgrimage. Finally, they returned to Sthanu Tirth, and Vena became purified of all remnants of sin by bathing there. After thanking and blessing Prithu, Vena departed for heavens. And this brings us to the end of chapter 18. The earth, It's Prithu milks the earth. Wish you all a very blissful weekend ahead. Thank you for joining. Hare Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.